Most wedding photographers and videographers are running a failing business, not because they're bad at their craft, not because they don't work hard, but because the math doesn't work. And if the math doesn't work, the business doesn't work. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly why most wedding businesses are mathematically unsustainable, why burnout becomes inevitable, why income plateaus after a few years, and what actually has to change structurally if you want to build something sustainable. Because this isn't just about your talent, it's about your business design. So let's run the numbers. Average wedding photographer or videographer charges somewhere between 2,500 and 3,500 bucks for wedding. Let's just say it's 3 grand. We'll keep the math simple. So if you book 25 weddings a year, that sounds solid, right? You're busy, your calendar's filled up, you're working almost every weekend. 25 weddings multiplied by 3,000, 75 grand, right? Most people look at that and think that's not bad, but here's the first problem. It's gross revenue, not your profit, not your take home revenue. And revenue tells a very incomplete story because the business expenses, the taxes, and the cost of actually delivering your work, your expenses, that number starts to shrink very quickly. But before we even get to that, we need to look at something even more important, which is your time. Because one wedding isn't just one day. It's not I show up on Saturday and I'm done. It's 8 to 10 hours of shooting on your wedding days. It's 20 to 40 hours of editing your photos or your films, hours of client meetings and timeline planning, emails, contracts, gallery delivery, client communication, revisions, file backups, album designs, whatever else you have going on, right? Let's average it conservatively and say each wedding takes like 35 hours of total work, right? Some will be less, some will be more, but 35 hours I feel is a fair average. So let's multiply that by 25 weddings, 25 times 35, 875 hours. And that's just client work, right? That doesn't include marketing, posting content, responding to DMs, writing or updating blog posts, putting together your website, bookkeeping, sales calls, networking, travel, gear maintenance, learning new software, second shooting, education. Yeah, it's a lot, right? But when you add all that in, you're easily adding another 400 to 600 hours a year, which means your total workload is probably somewhere around 1,300 to 1,500 hours annually. So let's divide 75,000 by 1,300, and that's $57 an hour before expenses. So let's subtract the real costs of running a photography or filmmaking business. Let's talk about gear upgrades and camera bodies, lenses, computers, insurance, editing software, website hosting, cloud storage, advertising, travel, second shooters, taxes, education expenses, conferences. It's a lot, guys. Like after those expenses, your effective take home might be like 30 to 40 bucks an hour. And remember, you worked nights and weekends for it. You missed Saturdays with your friends, you missed family events, you spent your Sundays editing. It's not a scalable business. It's just a stressful job. Now, here's the bigger problem, which is capacity. There's only 52 weekends in a year, so you cannot physically shoot 80 weddings yourself a year, physically, mentally, or logistically. Most photographers and filmmakers, they'll cap out somewhere between 25 and 30 weddings before burnout hits, and that's assuming you're extremely efficient. But that means your revenue ceiling is still capped. If you're charging 3 grand and you max out at 30 weddings, it's 90 grand. That's not even 6 figures, and that's the ceiling. And that's assuming everything goes perfectly. No cancellations, no slow seasons, no health issues, no economic downturn, no burnout. Your income is still capped by your calendar, and your revenue is tied directly to your time, which means you have almost zero leverage. Here's what happens next. You start feeling busy. Like really, really busy. Your weekends disappear, your editing queue gets longer, and you're always slightly behind. You open Lightroom and see 4,000 images waiting. You open Premiere and see hours of videos, right? But slowly something changes. You stop feeling excited. You start feeling overwhelmed. And here's the trap. You can't raise prices because you're scared of losing bookings. You can't take fewer weddings because you need the cash flow. So you just stay stuck. And working more doesn't increase your income much. And raising prices feel risky. And adding more weddings increases stress. This is the trap that most wedding creatives live in, not because they're bad, but because the structure of their business is wrong. So let me show you the structural flaw. Revenue equals price multiplied by capacity. That's it. If your price is low and your capacity is capped, your revenue is capped. You can't outwork the bad math. You can't hustle your way out of a ceiling. There are only two real levers that you can pull in this model. The first one, increase your price. The second one, increase your leverage. But most photographers and videographers try to increase volume. They think, oh, I just need more bookings. But volume is the weakest lever because volume increases stress at the exact same rate as income. And more weddings means more editing. More clients means more communication. More bookings means less freedom. It's just a linear model. Work more, earn slightly more, and burn out faster. What you need instead is a structural shift. So let's look at time to income. If you make $3,000 a wedding and each wedding takes 35 hours, you're trading 35 hours of work for $3,000. That's about $85 an hour before expenses. So imagine a different structure. Instead of 25 weddings at $3,000, let's say you booked 18 weddings at $6,000. 18 multiplied by 6, 108,000. Less weddings, higher revenue, lower burnout, same calendar, different structure. The work per wedding doesn't double when your prices double, but the revenue does, and that's leverage. This is why premium positioning matters so much, because higher pricing allows you to remove volume from the equation. So what actually needs to change? It's not your presets, it's not your color grades, maybe your logo, but probably not. Not your Instagram feed. 3 structural shifts. First, you want to raise positioning before raising price because premium clients don't necessarily pay for better photos or films. They pay for certainty. They pay for experience. They pay for clarity. They pay for confidence. And when your positioning is vague, price becomes the deciding factor. But when your positioning is clear, fit becomes the deciding factor. And fit supports premium pricing. The next thing you want to do is fix your sales process because most photographers and videographers treat sales calls like friendly conversations. They answer questions, they show packages, they hope that the couple chooses them. But if your close rate's below like 20 to 30%, it's not a lead problem, it's a conversion problem. When your sales process is structured, when you diagnose what the couple actually wants confidently and recommend a solution, your close rate increases dramatically. And when close rate increases, you need fewer leads to make the same amount of income. Third thing, stop selling time, start selling outcomes. When you sell coverage hours, you compete on price, like 8 hours versus 10 hours versus 12, one photographer versus another. But when you sell outcomes, when you sell a calm, self-guided experience and a meaningful record of the day, that's when you can compete on value. And value is so much harder to price shop. So the goal is simple. Fewer weddings, higher average sale, stronger margins. That's business design. Most wedding creatives, they don't have a marketing problem. They have a structural business problem. They built a model that requires max weekends, max editing, and max stress for middle-class income, and they call it working full-time. That's not a failure of talent. It's a math failure. So if this video made you uncomfortable, good. Because once you see the math, you can't unsee it. You have 2 options. Keep optimizing a capped model or redesign the model entirely. Higher positioning, stronger sales, predictable client acquisition, fewer weddings, more margin. I hope you learned something in this video. If you did, hit the subscribe button. You'll see more videos on how you can grow your wedding business. You can also follow me on Instagram at Aidin Tyler. If you want to see the full structure of how to build a wedding business that isn't capped by your calendar, go to howtosellweddings.com and watch the training. That's where I break down the entire system, positioning, pricing, sales, and scale. So stop building a job, build a better business. I'll see you in the next one.